Hello and welcome. In this explainer, we're going to do a complete walkthrough of the Xbench Quality Assurance tool. We'll cover everything you need to know, from the very first setup steps all the way to exporting that final report. Ready? Let's dive in. So, here's a quick look at our game plan. We'll start with the basics, what Xbench actually is. Then we'll get hands-on with setting up a project, getting your files in, and of course, running the QA checks. After that, I'll show you how to export the report. And stick around because at the end, I've got a great little tip for you. Okay, first things first. Before we start clicking buttons, let's get a clear idea of what Xbench is and, more importantly, what it does for us in a translation project.
Think of Xbench as your digital proofreader. It's this fantastic tool that helps you manage terminology, and most importantly, it's designed to sniff out all kinds of potential errors in your translation files. It's really your best friend when it comes to ensuring consistency and quality.
All right, let's get our hands dirty and start setting things up. This part is all about building a solid foundation for our QA check, so getting these first steps right is key.
The initial setup is really straightforward. First, you'll obviously need to download and install Xbench, which you can get from their official site. Once it's installed and you launch it, the very first thing you're going to do is go up to the File menu and click on New Project. Easy enough, right?
Now, we're getting into what I think is the most crucial part, file preparation. How you prepare your files, especially your glossary, will make or break the quality of your QA results. Seriously, this part matters.
So, let's talk about the glossary file. Xbench with, well, a little particular about the format. You need a plain text file, and the rule is super simple but also super strict. Column A must be your source term. Column B must be the target term. And here's the kicker. Every other column has to be totally blank. If there's any other data floating around, it can throw off the whole check.
And hey, if your glossary is sitting in an Excel spreadsheet, don't worry. Getting it into the right format is a piece of cake. Just use the Save As function and make sure you choose the Text, Tab Delimited, or .txt option. That'll give you a clean file that Xbench can work with perfectly.
Okay, with our files all prepped and ready, it's time to actually get them into our Xbench project. So in the main menu, you'll go to Project and then click on Properties. A window will pop up, and this is your workspace. The easiest way to get files in is to just drag and drop everything, your glossary and all the translation files, right into this window.
Now, this step is absolutely critical, so let's slow down for a second. Once your files are in that window, you have to tell Xbench what they are. For your glossary file, you want to check Remove Duplicates and Key Term. That tells Xbench this is your main terminology list. But for the translation files, the ones you actually want to check, you need to make sure Ongoing Translation is checked. That's how Xbench knows which files to analyze.
All right, the setup is done, our files are in and configured correctly. Now we get to the fun part, putting Xbench to work and actually running the QA checks.
Okay, so you're going to click over to the QA tab. To make sure we're doing a really thorough pass, under Check Group, go ahead and select both Basic and Content. Then under the list of checks for both of those groups, just select Everything. We want to check for everything we possibly can, from simple inconsistencies to terminology problems.
With all your checks selected, you're ready to unleash the tool. All you have to do is click that big Check Ongoing Translation button, and Xbench will start churning through your files and comparing them against all those rules we just set.
So Xbench has finished its magic, and now you have a list of all the potential issues it found. The next step is to get this information out of Xbench and into a nice, clean report that you can share and work with.
Exporting is super simple. While you're still in the QA tab, just click on Export QA Results. A little box will pop up asking what format you want. My recommendation is to always choose .xls. It gives you a standard Excel file that's really easy to filter, add comments to, and send to other people. Then just save it wherever you like.
Before we wrap this up, I want to leave you with one final, really useful tip. This is something that can save you a lot of time and help you focus your QA checks on what really matters. So let's quickly define a term you might run into, ICE or XU segments. It sounds technical, but it just stands for in-context exact matches. These are basically segments that were pulled from a translation memory and are considered a perfect 100% match. Usually they're already confirmed and locked, so they can't be changed. So what's the point? Well, in your QA settings, there's a little checkbox that lets you either include or exclude these locked segments from your check. And this is powerful.
If you really trust your translation memory, you can uncheck this box. Xbench will then skip all those locked segments, which speeds up the process and lets you focus only on the new or edited content. It's a great way to be more efficient.
So, to recap the whole workflow really quickly, it all starts with preparing that glossary file just right. Then you bring your files into the project and set the correct properties for each one. Over in the QA tab, you select all your checks, run the analysis, and finally, you export that handy .xls report. That's the whole process.
And there you have it, the standard A to Z workflow. But that brings up a really interesting thought, doesn't it? For this guide, we just selected all the checks. But as you get more comfortable, start thinking, how could you customize that list? Would you run the same checks on a legal document that you would on a creative marketing piece? Probably not. And that's where you can start to really harness the power of this tool.